All right, welcome to another edition of Grown Folks Business on a Thursday evening. I think we've gotten a little rain and a lot of heat, but I heard that the world keeps breaking the heat index record. We just keep getting hotter and hotter. So, stay as cool as you can. Drink plenty of water. Uh, Tonight we're going to do what I said we would, which is continue in the realm of conversation around being centrally focused on yourself and looking inside, so to speak. Last week we talked about, I think it was the noise of silence or something in that realm. And this week we're talking about be still, be still. So STEEL, be aware, be a warrior, be you, and be who with a question mark. So who is you? That's kind of what we're going to unpack a little bit today. We're going to break down those three things in order. What they mean to you. What does it mean to be still? These, of course, are subjective. I'm the one that came up with the prompt, so I'll explain first. Being still, and that means not moving, kind of being a antenna, receiving some things, but also being still in terms of STEEL, being stringent, being tough, powering through adversity at times. But I think those two things are connected because you need to take a moment, take a beat before you take on a task. And I actually be still. I sit and try to plot my course or, think about some things that would help me get towards a better outcome. So being still can make you be still. Uh, be aware. I like to know what the heck I'm doing. That's one thing about me. I Lisa laughed because yeah, I want a little bit of details. I want to be aware of what's going on, what's the surround, where we going. Don't say we just going over there, over such and such. Nah, I need to make sure I know who such and such is a little bit. I don't have to be everywhere doing everything. I just don't. That's a part of me. That's a part of me being still. I stay out of trouble that way. But I like I like to be aware of my surroundings. Like to know what I'm up to. Andre, you got sound? You might have to jump out and jump back in. I saw your message over there. If you have to, or Danya, see if you can handle that. And I'll get to the hellos in a moment. And then be you and be who is the question mark because you gotta you gotta know who you are. I think across all of these shows, everything I've ever done in this space, something I'm very, very emphatic about is knowing yourself. Um, Man, there's nothing like it. Um, Sometimes you can lose track. Sometimes you can act out of character, and you have to convict yourself for that. But there's nothing like knowing who you are. So be you, but who is you? Who are you? Kind of find that. And I believe all of these things: being still, being aware, being a warrior, knowing that hard times are coming, but kind of being strategic about how you're going to manage that. Uh, all of these things are connected in one way or another. So based on what I just communicated, if this resonates with you and you're able to speak on, and I want to hear from you, I hope it does. So Don, you appreciate you being here and doing what you do as always. Celeste, glad that you can make it. Your presence is always welcome. Jay Dwayne, thanks for getting here and doing what you do, man. Bring good energy, some challenging sometimes thoughts, and I appreciate your presence, man. And Lisa, of course, as always, thanks for showing up, showing out. You just, you guys have become uh, what is it, pillars in this building. You're part of the foundation now. I appreciate you guys. So we're gonna do some special things in the next few weeks that I've kind of mentioned to you guys off air, and I'm looking forward to it so we can learn a little bit more about you guys personally and what you're plugged into community wise and what's the thing that you want to make sure people understand about your contributions to this wonderful world of ours. So we'll get to all of that. But thanks for being here. I don't know if Andre's gonna make it back or not. I think he was having some technical difficulties. But I'm gonna start with you, Jay Dwayne. Gonna give you the floor first. Be still, Be still, be aware, be a warrior, be you, be who. Just like I did, kind of break those things down as to how they may or may not resonate with you, or see if you can extract some thoughts on them.
As much as I don't like bringing in my faith, it's like as soon as you said be still, and like be still and know that I am God. It just resonated with me. But I am a watcher and an observer. I'm like you. Like I need to know about who I'm gonna be around. Energies are very important to me. Spirits are very important to me. Motives and intentions are very important to me. Um, and so I am naturally a people watcher, and I naturally pay attention to things. And also that comes from my behavioral health background. You always have to assess a situation. So being still is important to me because I believe that it gives me vision and insight. Um, being aware, being aware of myself is extremely important, but also being aware of others. And I feel like the more I know myself, the more I can understand others. It's just a disservice to try to know more about other people than you know about yourself. So as I dig deep, I dig out more. I reach out more with that. And being who I am right now is so much of a struggle for me. Um, Admittedly so. Going through the divorce really rocked my whole perception of who I am and who I was. And I didn't realize as a man how much we identify with tasks and duties, and we take them on as part of our identity. And when those things are taken away, you wonder, like, okay, now who am I? I thought I knew who I was. So for a good 14, 15 years, I thought I knew who I was. And that's not necessarily so. So I'm on that journey of who I thought I was and getting to know the organic me once again and that person that I shielded off, but it's still extremely important to me. And to your kind of your prelude, I strive in isolation only because I'm able to really experience all of me without distraction.
Great responses, man. I'm glad you could process exactly what I'm trying to articulate with this prompt. I think those were solid, and just to kind of, I guess, add some solidification to your observations of what I'm saying as far as be still, be aware, and be you. Um, when Lisa and I went on the retreat that kind of prompted me to think about these topics for the next couple weeks or the following couple weeks. Um, I didn't know that one of her other friends was coming, and to your point, Jay, it was like, oh, I didn't know she was gonna be there, and it kind of was that be aware moment of the energies. You want everything to be what you thought it was gonna be, but she's a cool person, so that was a pleasant surprise. That was one of those, oh well, this is cool, because if it had been a total stranger, I'd have been like, well, I don't. This ain't the place for me to meet somebody. You know what I mean? So, but it was somebody that we were super cool with, and I couldn't have asked for better company for that period of time. So yeah, I definitely, that resonates what you say in that realm, as far as knowing what you're getting ready to get involved with, whose energy is going to be in this space you're about to occupy. That's very important. And I don't know if you've heard me say it before, Jay, but it's never too late to be who you thought you were. But you're absolutely right, man. That takes a type of focus that can be draining, especially when you have a routine. If you're used to these things being in your sphere, and you do this and you do that, that becomes a part of who you are, even if it's not what you think. It's not who you think you are. So yeah, you have to kind of wrestle with that all the time. It's an eternal thing. It really is. Uh, and I highlight that, and I celebrate that with you, man. So I wish you well in this season of your life as you transform and grow, because you're still with us. That's the important thing. Don't go nowhere. Lisa, I'm coming to you next. Be still, be aware, be you, and those things that are in the parentheses. So, what's your thoughts on this topic?
Oh man. First, I want to say to my brother Jay Dwayne, I'm with you, because as these you guys know, I'm transitioning too. I've been mothering children for 32 straight years, and to shake off that controlling nature of mothering, like go here, do this, da da da. Oh my gosh, after 32 years, how do you do that? So thankfully, this has been a very healing space. I'll say you guys are just amazing. And Jay, Felton, Celeste, you ain't been on as much while I've been on, so you ain't gave me much healing yet. So I'm listening, okay? But it's been so helpful, like to have this adult space. So in the being still part, this is one time on Thursdays at 7 o'clock that, most of the time I'm making it because it kind of forces me to sit down and be present. Now, this is not totally still, but this is a good transition for me because I've been like moving 24/7. And when I stop moving, I'm in bed and then I go to sleep. So even this show has been remarkable for me in this transition. So a little funny story, Lily, who's 18 and out of high school now, I woke up to a text that said, I'm going to get my hair done or something. And this was like last week. And I called her like, what do you mean telling me you're going to get your hair done? And where are you? And she said, well, you do it to me because usually when I leave, yeah, right, Celeste, when I leave at 5:30 in the morning on the way to go swimming, I'd send her a text, good morning, I'm gone to the Y. So she's getting her adulting from me, and she's adulting because she's an adult. So she did let me know where she was going. And I had to be like, okay, this part of that transitioning, right? She has a safe space because she's still here at home, but she has that level of freedom and autonomy to choose what she's doing with herself. And I'm appreciative of her respectful nature of, okay, that's how my mom does it. So now she says I'm an adult, let me do it like that. Right. And I had to go back, I think it was the next day. And I said, you know what? You were absolutely right. Thank you for reminding me that that's okay. But to Jay's point, I've been a mom, and I made no qualms about being a mini helicopter mom. Like if I don't even hear from my children, even Jeffrey, who's about to be 32, if I don't hear from Jeffrey, like within a week or two of me trying to reach him, I'll go to his job, right? And say, I know, I see you, Celeste. Don't be judging me. To lay eyes on my child. So this is rough, except you guys, this is awesome. This adulting that I'm learning to do. So I've been parenting since I was 20 years old. And coming from the trauma of childhood, I've really been an adult before I was of age to be an adult. So I'm even learning how to have fun. But even the be still part, the be still and the strong part of still, I'm so comfortable in the skin that I'm in at this stage. So Felton, you'd be happy to know you were ringing in my head earlier today. I went to go meet with a banker, someone who's trying to get our business with turning everything around. And I put on my boss chick suit and was looking boss chick-ish, right? And so then after I did that, I went to Costco to handle some business. And people looking at me, the others are looking at me like, what, that black woman looking like that? So Felton's in my head like, you belong everywhere. You belong everywhere. You belong everywhere. So Jaredon, y'all know my baby Jaredon, he was with me. He's like, Mama, all these white people are looking at you. I said, because they have a picture in their head of what a black woman should look like. And this is shocking to them, but they'll be okay. So I was still cool. Like I ain't getting my feelings. I was like, this is who I am. I'm like a chameleon. I needed to go meet with a banker who want my business. That's business. So I put on my boss chick suit. But if you see me over at the GTA, well, no, I'm gonna have on some boss stuff too then. But if you see me riding the city bus, right, I might have on my Brooks, my sneakers, and a ball cap. And I feel so good being able to do just that thing. So that also goes into being me. And this has been a transition. Most of you have been with me, not most, you two, Felton and Jay Dwayne, and have seen a lot of this transition over a couple of years. And I'm so excited for it. So thank you for this space too, and your thought-provoking questions. My cousin is a genius, y'all.
Oh, I'm gonna say it for you. Oh, I appreciate you, Lisa, and I'm glad you was out there bossing up on them. You know, sometimes you got to stunt, and you know that's your right. You belong where you stunt. How about that? Um, but thank you for all of that, and I connect every last one of those dots to all of the prompts. I mean, I just do. Being still, being aware. You are aware that you're transitioning from being that relentlessly full time, overtime, extra time mama to just being able to uh, process those interactions a little bit differently. So yeah, be aware, and you know who you are. So I say less right there. But Andre, coming to you next, man. If you get the gist of things, you see how we rolling. Be still, be aware, be you.
So I got to piggyback on something that Lisa just mentioned. Since I've been joining this call on Thursday, this has become my being still moment. And anybody who knows me knows I normally go 100 miles an hour, like nonstop from the moment I get up to literally I go to bed. This has become my time that that I am still. I'm still working on that silence from last week. I told you last week I don't got the silence down yet, but at least I am still, and you know I'm just getting to know you guys. But I'm gonna tell you something, because something that we're talking about here is in terms of being me, right? A lot of people don't know this, but I struggled with that for a very long time, and let me tell you why. When I was younger, I'm the only boy. I have 6 older sisters, but long story short, my birth mother had some issues, and basically me and all my sisters, except my 2 oldest ones because they were grown, we're all taken by the state of California. We're all separated, foster care, youth academy. So here's my point, though. A couple years in, I was 14. I was actually adopted by a white couple of significant means, and I moved from California to Washington, D.C. And so here's my point. In D.C., my entire life was changed around. I went from basically having nothing to literally having anything that I would want. And my parents, Ruth Ann and Robert, they're trying to figure out, what this young black man they adopted needed in life, and they really didn't know. So it was pretty much left to me. And living on Capitol Hill, I mean, I went to Sidwell Friends and didn't feel like that's where I belonged. So I decided to go to a local school, Spingarn High School, Washington, D.C. Not because I had to go there. I just wanted to go where people look more like me. But when I would come home every day, I wasn't coming home to a family that looked like me, yet they cared enough to actually adopt me and made a choice to bring me into their life and provide me the things that they provided. When I got older, and literally all my friends from Spingarn, every last one of them except me, went off to an HBC, and I went to the opposite of an HBC. I think I was probably one of 12 minorities at the school, and probably only 3 black males, black men. So why do I say all that? I've always felt who I am. I just always felt that I didn't fit in, if that makes sense. I'm a very confident person. I work hard. I really go every day, try to treat people the right way. But actually figuring out what that me is has always been a challenge. And what I've learned, for a lot of different reasons, but one of the major things I learned is all that makes me, right? Like my story is the me, and I don't have to feel uncomfortable no matter where I go. We all got our sort of things that make us who we are. But do I sometimes have struggled or yeah, I would say struggled figuring out that me thing? Yeah. For a lot of different reasons. Yeah. But I just thank you all, and again, coming to this call and meeting you guys and and learning little tidbits about North Carolina and Greensboro. I think I told you guys that before. It means a lot to me because this is a very different city than anywhere I've ever lived in my life. DC, Atlanta, South Florida, Southern California. None of those places are like Greensboro, North Carolina. Now, they're good or bad, I'm going to hold off on that yet because Lisa's working on me. But there's some dynamics going on here that I'm not particularly used to, and it's just the truth, right? So I don't know. I don't know, Felton. It's a lot going on with me. But I appreciate all you do.
Man, look, we appreciate you and welcome. Man, you said enough that gives me the just energy and ideas to really express to you that this is a safe space, and you and Jay bring something that I probably don't is a level of openness from a male perspective. Even though I'm here to stir the pot and add some seasoning, I'm not the most forthwith with certain dynamics and aspects. And Lisa laughing and shaking her head, yeah, because she knows me, and most people know me. I'm not that open, but I do embrace that type of display. I celebrate it, man. I hold it very high regard, and you guys strengthen me in ways that I can't explain, because it's important that Black men display vulnerability. It's important that we talk about not always being that steel, that's STEEL. Sometimes we need to be understood as being vulnerable and can be hurt. But yeah, man, you said some really good things, including why I say now, you're definitely a grown folks business member, because you've jumped ahead a bit. And the prompt that I'm going to go to now, after Celeste, is going to be because of what you just shared, but it is because of something Lisa and I discussed a couple weeks ago. So I'll get to it, and you'll be like, oh yeah, because I'm going to start with you because of what you just shared about your background. But Celeste, come to you first. Be still, be aware, be you, and the stuff in parentheses. What does it do? What does it say? How does it resonate?
So, I think last time I shared, I got a tambourine and I'll play it to you. I grew up in the AME church, so that piece about to come out. Whenever you said, "Be still," my first thought was "Peace, be still." Sometimes I lose my peace and then I can't sit still. That happens, but when you said that, I think of being your authentic self, because when you are your authentic self and you live your life authentically, you can be still. Like, I know I like to make fun of religion sometimes, but that's one thing they got right. Peace, be still. When I'm at peace with myself because I am being my authentic self and I am presenting myself the best way I can every day, and I am presenting my opinions, my ideas, the way I view life, my morals, my values, all of that, I can be still. When I'm not compromising myself and I am being myself and I am presenting myself that way, I can be still. For me, being still is being at peace, because I don't know about y'all. I'm in law school. I be stressed. I be worried, y'all. I be worried. But when I come home at night and I have that good meal that I've been thinking about all day, because I find comfort in food. I eat 2 meals a day. I find comfort in my food. Usually I have coffee for breakfast. I have whatever I think I might be able to get quickly for lunch. And dinner is something that I really, really like. I sit on my couch. I turn on whatever history show. Right now I'm going through my World War II situation. So all them documentaries on Hulu are wonderful for me. Like, did y'all know Joseph Stalin was, his real name was Yosef, I think. And he was actually 5'4". He purposefully stood on a stool or stood only with people that would be shorter than him, because he was 5'4", and he would purposefully hide behind things to be taller. Yeah, I always thought this man was like 6'6" my entire life. No, 5'4". It's part of the reason he was so hateful. But those things, like being a nerd, being able to, like, I can sit up here. Funny enough, I didn't do as great in law school my first year as I wanted because I didn't know how to write like an attorney, but I sure enough learned a whole lot. So let's talk about adverse possession. Let's talk about easements on your grandma's land. Let's talk about the necessary elements of homicide, manslaughter. I was just telling Felton before we started, let's talk about how most of the laws that we follow aren't actually written laws. They're common laws. They're ghost laws. They're implied law from a ruling that some judge made in, like, what, 1950, when Black people still weren't necessarily equal citizens. Let's go back to the decisions of the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, Dred Scott, Plessy v. Ferguson, see the historian in me, and then the law school student in me, Debbie Nixon. There's a lot going on there. But that's when I'm at peace, when I'm doing something I truly love, when I'm talking about the things that make me happy, when I'm presenting myself in a way that I know I can be proud of. My parents can be proud that they raised me of. Lisa, when you said showing up at your son's job, I was like, see, now if Velma Jean showed up at my law school, if Velma Jean showed up on a political campaign, one, I know I'm about to get my tail toe up, because that means she had to leave the house and drive somewhere. But also, Mama, I'm grown now. You can't just be showing up with a belt to whoop me. I'm at my parents' house right now. Don't be shocked if a little woman come right here and be like, I can whoop you if I want. I gave you life. Ma'am, that got old once I got bigger than you. My mama is 5'2", y'all, and she thinks she about 8'2". She thinks she can run up on anybody at any given time. Lisa, I see you laughing, you connected. But being that woman that I know my dad is proud that he raised, like my dad raised me to take no prisoners, and I'm already Black, and then I'm a woman too, Celeste, you better learn how to fight. So that's who I can be. That's how I'm myself. That's how I find peace. That's how my peace is still. That's how I get through life. So I don't know if I answered your question. I don't know if the people watching are probably like, girl, I don't know what type of parents you got. Yeah.
The beauty of it is, no, the beauty of it is the last part you did answer was that your dad told you to be aware. Basically, you know, you're gonna have to know some things because you might have to do some things. And I dig that. I dig that. No, that's good preparation for life, because this thing is something. What'd you say last week? Life is lifing. That's exactly what this thing does. Andre, I'm coming back to you. Oh, go ahead, Celeste. Go ahead, Celeste.
Oh no, I just said it be life and real hard sometimes, real hard.
It does. Kicking y'all up in the backside, and don't even care if it hits you in the butt. It's kicking y'all up back of your head everywhere else. So yeah, don't even care. Life is life. I'm gonna skip ahead to this prompt, Andre, because of something you mentioned about your background, your upbringing, and it causing you to kind of be disrupted in a way in terms of knowing who you are inside, and committing to some idea of that. Lisa and I were having a brief discussion about something, and she kind of brought this to my attention. I think it was when we were sitting in there in Laura's place. Was it in Laura's place, Lisa? And the question is, does an abundance of resources disrupt or enhance one's ability to be introspective? So being introspective, going on that journey of self-knowledge, was it enhanced or was it disrupted by your newfound access, Andre? And the crazy part is that question is one I had, and you are now pretty much to the top of the pyramid in answering it just based on what you shared. So you have a real-time processing of it. You understand it from a different dynamic. So that's the question.
I would say a little bit of both, and I know that doesn't straight answer your question, but here's why. But before I forget, so Celeste, don't talk about 5'4" people, everybody being mean. I'm gonna come back to that later because I took that a little some type of way, but that's okay. That's in my book though, just so you know, that's in my book. I'm gonna come back to that one. But so I would say this, Felton. So I would say this: when I went off to school, and I'm literally the only person of color. Like when we did the trip to the UK, literally, I'm the only Black person there. When we did a semester learning marine biology in Bermuda, just me. And some of the professor would say, "Oh, well, you're the first Black student, that ever came to these things." So I didn't know how to feel when they said that, right? Like I want to go because obviously at one point in time I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I wanted to one time be a lawyer, but that's another story. But so I was privileged that my parents could let me do those things. And the unique thing about them is I know they knew that I'm probably going to be the only Black person there, but still they let me go because they wanted to force. I don't want to say they wanted to force them to accept me, because it's almost like does does having means force acceptance, which is probably a whole nother conversation. Because I think I learned it does not. Because normally when you went to Europe, a professor told me nobody who's ever gone to the European trip for a semester abroad ever got anything less than an A in the class. I got the B minus. Did everything everybody else did, but I got the B minus. Marine biology in Bermuda, nobody ever got less than an A. Andre got the B minus. So it's like access, but they still treat you differently. Then when some of my friends would come back in town for breaks and stuff, and people would visit me, and again, I literally the only person that did go to HBC. It was even different with them, right? Like you didn't go to Howard like we did. You didn't go to FAMU. So it's I wouldn't trade it, Felton, for the world, because I learned so much, man. And one day, if we're ever out having a drink and I could really talk to you like the difference, when you meet somebody you don't know and you're connecting, it's all online, right? Back in the day, online. And then you find out it's a white woman, and you're like, no, I'm not going to date a white woman. I got 6 sisters. I'm not going to date a white woman. But Felton, I was wrong. I was wrong for saying that, because there's nothing wrong with the young lady. Her name was Lisa, but there's nothing wrong with Lisa. I was messed up, Felton, because I said I'm not going to date a white woman. Not that she did anything to me, not that she was a bad person, but I'm fighting all this other stuff. I'm like, nah, I don't care what school I'm going to. I go to Harvard. I'm not dating a white woman. I just refuse to. But why? Because I was messed up, right? Because that's not how you treat people, right? At the end of the day, that's not how you treat people. So just like I didn't want them to treat me, I treated her that way simply because of the color of her skin. And I think about that to this day. I married a black queen, but that's not my point. At that point in time, I know I was wrong for thinking that way and doing that to a person for no reason. And how is that any different than how they treat us sometimes, right? That's really no different. It's the same thing. And it's wrong, right? I will say the best thing about having resources, my parents taught me a long time ago. We did Kiwanis Club. We did volunteering, like so many organizations and stuff we were involved in. And they taught me how to really be involved in the community, how to support people, how to follow through on your commitments to society as a whole, not because you have to, because you choose to, and it matters. And I appreciate that.
Nah, man. Well said. The thing about sharing that personal experience, it was prompted in me to ask that particular question earlier because of that level of proximity that you breached, and it does come with some challenges, and you're wildly aware of that. It comes with imposter syndrome. It comes with that B minus maybe is the reminder that you don't quite fit. It comes with a high level proximity to people that are outside of your normal community and that you've been encouraged to maintain ties with. But Frederick Douglass, the great man that he was, he married a white woman. I mean, I don't think you can help who you love. I'm not going all the way down that rabbit hole right now. You can have preferences, but sometimes you can't deny somebody that you might need to give a crack, and that might be across the racial boundaries. But that's neither here nor there. Appreciate you sharing that, Andre. At least I don't know what all them hand motions are about, but we coming to you next because you and I kind of had this conversation a little bit. We were talking, and I think this was around the last thing we discussed that night. So does an abundance of resources disrupt or enhance one's ability to be introspective? And there's no right or wrong answer. I meant to tell you that, Andre. It is a both and, or it's a one runoff. It's just depends on what your subjective experience tells you. Go ahead, Lisa.
I think it's helpful to not have had access to resources and then have access to resources. And the reason I say helpful, because you have points of reference for the changes that makes in your life. So even having access to resources gives you an opportunity for introspection. So if you are hungry or if you're hustling 24/7, you don't have the time, or even in your mind, you don't think you have the time because you have to work 15 jobs to make your ends meet. But what the thing about, once you get that little piece of information, the knowledge that if you take time, right? Like Stephen Covey's, um, he did a little analogy of too busy sawing to sharpen the saw, right? In the First Things First, in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And if you take the time to have some introspection, even when it seems like you ought to be running ragged, if you don't have resources, time is a resource, and it's an amazing resource. And even taking a few minutes to look at something objectively instead of subjectively. So that's why access means so much. So even having access to this little bit of a nugget of information, like, yeah, I know you think you have to work 15 jobs to make your ends meet, but if you took one day off from one of the jobs and took that time to strategize on something else, it can make everything all the difference in your life. And one example that I'm even trying to do right now is I get tired because I'm a little over middle age, right? So sometimes I get tired and I'll just keep going, keep going. But the last 2 days, I have gotten tired and felt somewhat sleepy. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. I sent somebody a text and changed a meeting. Like, can't meet at 10 this morning, make it 11. And I went and laid in my bed. And I didn't get to go to sleep today. Yesterday, I got a 20-minute nap and I set my alarm but I now value that. And then I have the option of that. So those of you who know, Felton knows for sure, my office is steps away from my bed, so I have, that is an opportunity, that is a resource that I now have more fully available to me because I took advantage of another resource. And man, it's made the difference. But I don't know that I would value this as much, even this right here, spending this time with wonderful people in the rectangles, if I don't do that introspection about, man, what was life like? So it's kind of akin to when people say, oh, you forget where you come from. It's not just about poverty, right? It's not just about a neighborhood. It's about a mindset also. And I do want to encourage Andre, that I'm glad you're in the squares. I tease you a little bit, but I'm glad you're in the squares because this platform has been part of my intensive therapeutic journey over the years, because I too was involved in a foster care type situation, but I have had to invest in healthiness, and that's a resource, and a healing journey. And I've said it on this show that these people, like, these are some thought-provoking leaders. I'm telling you, and I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and they have helped me, align and readjust some thought processes and some perspectives. And me and Felton, sometimes we box. Like, sometimes he get a little too hard, and then I have to like reel him back. Like, bro, like, I don't care if you 6'500. I'll get on a ladder, right? I'll get on the ladder. You ain't about to do me. But anyway, so you keep on coming, Andre. You next year this time, do some introspection, and then don't forget where you came from this year, and appreciate and value this resource of grown folk business.
Lisa, you are you mean a lot, and for that to be something that you always put out front, and I appreciate it. And this is purpose for me, so it's something that I am introspective about. And when I am introspective, I'll say this now. I was going to say it in another with another question, but I'll say this now. Time and purpose are where I kind of wrestle with, and when I'm being introspective, it's time and purpose. When I'm thinking internally, it's time and purpose. So this is time well spent, and it's purposeful, I hope. and you just validated my hope. So I appreciate that, Lisa. I really do.
Wait. You might want to read the chat.
Oh, am I missing? What's okay? So people want to just assault me, and let me see why does it exactly? Andre, don't pay him no attention, man. Everybody, hates Chris. That's the energy I get, I guess. We can never solve that riddle, and I didn't watch that show. It just came to mind. But yeah, I don't think they hate me. It's a thin line. It's a thin line between love and hate. Celeste, I'm coming to you next. And I just want to make sure, this is not a black or white answer, but we have to acknowledge that, as Lisa said, that there's something to being able to tap into certain resources. And just real quick, I was reading a book today. I had a meeting with my advisor at 12:30, and I'm like, man, to be able to do this and to not be locked into something that you don't want to be doing, there's an encouragement and a discouragement associated, because it's still not everywhere you need to be in life, but it is something you have to really take a moment and be still and appreciate. I get to just read this book, and I get to just go spend some time with an intellectual giant that I enjoy exchanging ideas and conversation with. So, and I get to do this here. I get to spend this time with you guys. So yeah, I'm very appreciative. Celeste, it is your turn to. Oh, go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
I just want to add what we were talking about in Laura's place, is that when you have access to resources, Celeste's word, term, phrase, life be lifing, life still be lifing, but it feel a heck of a lot better. It feels easier. It's more manageable, and it's easier to deal with when you have access to resources.
Gotcha. Yeah, adversity isn't the same. It's not the same level of adversity that can be just, crippling. Does abundance of resources disrupt or enhance one's ability to be introspective, Celeste?
Well, I guess I'm gonna come to it from the flip side. I didn't understand until I went to A&T. It was my first time being in a majority Black space. I went to predominantly white schools growing up, and white people's lack of resources and Black people's lack of resources are two totally different things. And also, being poor and white and being poor and Black, somehow, some way, same socioeconomic status, different social treatment. But I will be very upfront. I'm very upfront with this in organizing. I grew up with resources. I'm the first generation to grow up with resources on my dad's side. My dad's one of 8. My grandfather was a hog farmer and a farmer in general in Eastern North Carolina. My mother, she grew up with the Black family who was the house on the hill. So my dad went to the military, whatever, built a life for himself coming out. And growing up in a predominantly white space, I grew up with, I would say, a mixed class of white people, but most of my friends were the uppity Black people that could afford to live in the white spaces. We all lived in Black neighborhoods, but they were in white spaces except for one friend. She lived down in Pleasant Garden in the middle of nowhere. And I will say that our lives were completely different. Lisa talking about resources. She's right. I can never sit up here and act like I ever worried about where my next meal was coming from. I can't act like there was never a moment in my life where something that's quote unquote normal wasn't normal. And she was right when she said having access to resources, life is lifing, but it's never lifing in a place of despair. And to grow up with resources is a supreme advantage. When I got to A&T, I met Professor Derek Smith. I give him credit for who I am today, not necessarily my morals and values, but how I project my morals and values to other people. Like, people are like, oh, your dad, he's an older man, so he's conservative. My dad has conservative opinions, but he was very clear on, you love everybody and you treat everybody right. So my support of the LGBTQ is not something that's like, ooh, to him, because he was like, I served in the United States military from the 70s to the 90s. He was like, You gonna serve beside a man who identifies as G at it that most of the time. He was like, and it's my job to have his back just as much as anybody else's. My mom, I'm not gonna lie, I thought my mama was gonna be one of them. My mama, she said, if you were a lesbian, she said, was I gonna stop loving you? You're my child. And from that space of what you expect my older Southern conservative, because I'll be honest, my parents they don't care. They're 65 and 66 and they have a 25-year-old daughter. Do the math. Yeah, do the math. Having access to those resources and then having access to parents who invested in me and were willing to invest me in diversity and all of those things, it's a resource. It does make you, yes, I had access to a lot of different experiences that were able to give me these diverse opinions, but they also championed me having those diverse opinions. We don't agree on a lot of stuff. Like, baby, we get to talking about politics and stuff around the table and it can go left real quick. I come from that conservative church family. I'm telling y'all, I got 3 ministers on each side. It can go down, especially me, because some of them are conservative enough to be like, well, God said keep your penis in your pants, but don't you have a kid up outside your marriage and you've been married for 60 years? Let's talk about that. Yeah, I'm that one. But having access to resources gave me access to experiences that gave me access to different opinions and diversity. Like, I watched Lilo and Stitch a whole bunch as a child. So when I was 8, we spent a week in Hawaii during the summer. It was my first time on a plane. A lot of kids see all these things on TV and their parents can't take them there to go and see them, go experience them. Going to Hawaii, we went to Kona Kauai, and I learned all about how basically America colonized Hawaii. Hawaii didn't want to be a state. Chasing their queen, basically locking her in a cabin on an island. Like, this is what happened when you listen to Native Hawaiians speak. They don't want us there. The reason I got to hear all this history is because the Native Hawaiians were like, oh, y'all actually seem cool, so you and your family come along. And my dad and his dad's sandals, we walked up and down the different volcano things. We walked on the different beaches and we got to meet all these traditional dances, traditional food. Don't eat poi. Poi is nasty. It's their version of mashed potatoes, essentially. Tastes like wallpaper paste. I can't handle it, but everything else was really good. Like, these experiences are directly from my resources. Going to DC. I went to DC several times as a child because I was in the Beta Club and stuff and all those smart people things. And my parents were able to take me because of resources. So I got to learn and see a lot. And even my education. Oh, you're so smart. I'm smart because I didn't have to worry about it. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm smart because I'm smart, but not having to worry about anything. And I come home and do my homework and I go to school and all I have to do is listen and pay attention because I'm not stressed or worried about anything after and all this other stuff. It's a resource. Like, a lot of these smart people, no, kids in impoverished communities, kids in the hood, they're smart, but they have to think about different things. My biggest job growing up was get good grades, stay out of trouble, do good in school, and go to all your cheer practices. Like, that was what I did. So by all means, resources and all that stuff, like, if every child had access to resources, the issue that we have with a lot of crime and gangs and all that stuff, that people are always like, oh, we need to arrest people. No, we need to give them resources. Resources save us from a lot. And Andre, I went to A&T on accident. My first choice was UNC Charlotte or UNC Chapel Hill. My counselor didn't send off my transcripts. A&T accepted me without my transcripts within like 48 hours. And my friends were going. So I was like, oh, I'll pay the deposit and go. That group of girls ended up not even being my friend by the time we graduated high school, like 6 months later. But I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to hate it. So I'm going to transfer. I showed up in the first like 8 weeks. I met my best friend, who is now my sister. There's a picture of her hanging in my house beside me because that's my dad's second daughter. I have friends for life. I was in the Miss Phi Beta Sigma pageant my sophomore year. And from that, two guys that were in Gibbs Hall with me at A&T, Heath and Bird, they're my kids' uncles. My sons will probably end up pledging if I have boys because their uncles will be there for them. Like the experience I had, I worked with the Democratic Party as an intern, turned into a full-time job. I met my best friend doing that. I met Adrian and Justin. We're so close as friends that my parents let them parent me when I get on my parents' nerves. Who I am who I am because I got to experience my Blackness, my wholeness. I got to grow. I got to feel what it is to be connected to my Blackness, not necessarily scared of it or scared of how people will treat me because of it. Because at this point, I'm Black and I'm proud. And if you don't like me, that's very much a you problem. So I'm going to be me and you're going to do you. And Auntie made me okay with the fact that some people might not accept me because of my Blackness, but I accept myself and that's all that matters. So Auntie was an accident, but it's the greatest accident to ever happen to me in my life. I just told my mom yesterday, if somebody told me right now you could go back to 2016 and do Auntie all over again, shoot, you could pay 25-year-old me right now to go back and go hang out with my friends for 4 years straight. And I do it. My knees don't work as good. Them hips gonna hurt. I can't dance and percolate and everything else.
But I'm stopping you there. You're 25 years old. Stop it. You don't get to.
My knees hurt.
Can I get an egg fried?
Andre, I'm honestly sorry you didn't get to have that experience. I know you're happy, but not ego pride amplified.
Yeah,
y'all cute.
Eagles fly.
But I, coming from a predominantly white environment, being an Auntie was the best accident that could have ever happened to me because I met my favorite professor, Derek Smith, but I fell in love with myself in a different way. And I met the greatest people I could possibly ever meet. I go to homecoming every year now, even though I'm in law school, because that's seeing my family. I go, Jay Dwayne, you're going to appreciate this. I get my stuff. I say hello to everybody else, and I go right to the Sigma plot and go hug all my family because I love Phi Beta Sigma. I love Zeta Phi Beta. Those are friends and family for life, especially
we're not talking about gangs here. So let me stop that too. So
don't get beat up. Yeah, don't do that.
I'm gonna say,
Andre, do you see why he gets jumped on? And by the way, let me fix you since Celeste bro. It's HBCU, bro. HBCU.
Yeah.
Historically Black Colleges and Universities.
Andre, it's okay, man. You can say it how you need to say it because you know why? When you go to James B. Dudley High School, you get it early. James B. Dudley, Panther Pride is where it all begins.
James B. Dudley is where the Auntie. They prepare y'all for the Aggie experience.
We are the Aggie experience before the Aggie experience. Anyway, Panther Pride.
And it's not too late. Sorry, it's not too late, Andre. I'll take you on a campus tour, a personal campus tour of A&T.
James B. Dudley. James B. Dudley.
What the Blue and Gold Pride is about.
That's the original Blue and Gold. Anyway, Andre,
appreciate to get beat up.
Celeste, appreciate you. Jay Dwayne's gonna take us home with the last comments on this topic before we get out of here this evening. Jay.
Oh, wait. Listen, one last thing for everybody.
Oh, go ahead.
Celeste brought it up. Hold on. So Celeste brought it up. Read Malcolm Gladwell's book, I Hate the Ivy League. So what you brought up about resources and students' performance, he kills it in that book. I Hate the Ivy League. Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah. I like Malcolm Gladwell.
Remind me to read that, Lisa. Remind me. Send me a text.
Jay Dwayne, does an abundance of resources disrupt or enhance one's ability to be introspective?
I think it does. Immediately when you said that, I thought about from the Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And the very first line says the oppressed, instead of striving for liberation, tend themselves to become oppressors. And so a lot of us know more, the more oppressed you are, the more you know about the oppressors. The less oppressed you are, the less you know about the people you are oppressing. And so when we have conversations about oppression, it typically goes just to race, but we don't think about the levels within race and the social classes within those dynamics that influence different things. And if you're in a social class where you have a privilege of not worrying about something, that gives you a skewed perception of how life truly is. The next thing that I thought about was the episode of Good Times when James' friend came and they said, you act like you forgot where you came from. And he said, I didn't forget. I just don't want to remember. Sometimes pain can be so hard that it does give you a trauma response where you close off portions of your life, which means you close off that perception and those valuable learned lessons, which goes right into access. Accessibility is a struggle that we really don't talk about a lot because we really confuse admittance with accessibility. So a lot of us are allowed in the room, but we can't either sit at the table or utilize the utensils at the table. And I think that that's a deeper conversation that we don't have enough conversation about what true accessibility is and the levels in oppression. There is a collective oppression that we all experience, but social class and having money does alleviate a lot of those concerns. And it also allows you to get tunnel vision or even become insensitive to the needs of others because that's a burden or a plight that you don't have to contend with.
Wonderfully said.
And the best HBCU is Benedict College in the heart of Columbia,
What?
South Carolina.
Huh?
And I just want to say, Andre,
Never
even
heard
though
of
you didn't have a chance,
I gotta
even though
say,
you didn't have a
Jay,
chance to go.
Jay, wait a minute.
Yes,
Jay, wait
yes,
a minute. Your
yes.
voice was all monotone, and I could understand you clearly. It's something triggered. What? I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead and say what you said.
Where the golden sunshines fall, rusting leaves about her.
You reminded me of when we saw something on a Facebook that said Eagle Pride, and me and my friend said, "Is that a thing? What does that mean?"
It is a thing. It is a thing. Hey, listen.
I will say this about HBCUs. I think HBCUs are very necessary.
Yeah.
And I think there is an argument because I get into it with my friends who went to PWIs versus HBCUs. I personally think every Black person should attend a HBCU. That doesn't mean get a degree, maybe get a certification, maybe donate, maybe do something, because that experience is different. But there's a reason why HBCUs are still needed today. And it's the accessibility factor. And it's only something you experience once you get it. So if there's a school that you see that has a quick 9-month certification program, some even offer free programs, just get in it, have that experience so you can say, hey, I got a certificate in basket weaving from wherever. But it's saying that I did go to a HBCU because it's a different experience that you only will experience once you go there.
Don't disagree at all. I do elevate Dudley into that equation. It really is a different type of experience, especially when your teachers look like you, when you're learning about certain things that you may not get anywhere else. Dudley was my first experience in that, and then I went to UNCG, and then I went to Central. But I did all of my college and as an adult, so that is a different type dynamic anyway. But look, man, this has been awesome. Jay, aside from the end when you broke character and went somewhere you didn't need to go, I don't understand what happened there, but appreciate you. Appreciate you all. And real quick, Andre, just to, just go around, man, and explore the states. The states fairly fascinating as well. There's a lot of interesting places and things to kind of some rocks to overturn. And we got the coast one way and we got the mountains the other. So go take a look, man. And yeah, we'll definitely get together, have a drink. Definitely look forward to us getting our live version of GFB on. I think in September is what we're shooting for, September, October. So whenever I get those dates settled, we'll circle them and we'll make sure we can all find the time to share it in person. Been wonderful, guys. Appreciate you all. We're going to have a third segment of this, so continue to be thinking introspectively and, what makes you who you are, what makes you whole. Celeste, appreciate you. Lisa, appreciate you. Jay, Dwayne, Andre, and Danya, thanks for doing all you do. I will hope to catch you guys next week. If I don't, it'll be the following week, but I need you guys back so we can finish this 3-part series. I appreciate you all.